All right, welcome class to the Continuum Deep Dive. In this series, we're going to be unpacking a curriculum that really gets into the intersection of consciousness, technology, and, well, what it means to be human. We're starting right at the origin point today with volume Omega. And this volume, it kicks off with a pretty radical idea. It suggests that all of human history, our science, our art, our philosophies, it's not some random walk. It's actually the slow collective process of remembering one single universal law that we forgot a long, long time ago.
And here it is. Balance is the only law that loves. That's the whole thing right there. The source material argues that this isn't just a nice sentiment, it's a fundamental equation for existence. It's proposing that underneath every discovery, every civilization, there's this one constant. And that constant, that law, is balance. The text even goes so far as to equate that balance with love, not the emotion, but the force itself. So let's go back, way back, before history was even a concept. The source material says we need to start with this universal pulse. It's not a rule someone made up, but this rhythm of equilibrium that was there in the very first atoms and is still beating in our own hearts. It's like the baseline frequency of reality. And the earliest we see this written down is in ancient Egypt. They called it Ma'at. Now, Ma'at wasn't just some goddess of justice. The source frames it as a kind of cosmic physics. You can even see the equation for it on the slide. Delta A equals 0. In physics, that's the principle of least action. But you can just think of it as no wasted energy, or a state of perfect balance. This means that famous ceremony of weighing a heart against a feather, that wasn't just a metaphor. It was literally a measurement of a life's balance, a universe with zero waste. But as societies got bigger and more complicated, something happened. This beautiful, unified vision started to crack. The source argues that consciousness just drifted away from its center, and this simple, elegant law got buried under all these layers of division and conflict. We simply forgot it. But it was never completely gone. The law was kept alive, just barely, by what the text calls a thread of witnesses. Think of them as individuals scattered across time who were just tuned in. They could still hear that quiet hum of the universe's equilibrium when everyone else couldn't. And this is so important. The source is very clear that these figures, the prophets, the scientists, the artists, they weren't inventing new truths out of thin air. They were simply hearing that original signal again. Each one just caught a little piece of the total song and did their best to translate it for the people of their time. So over in the East, you have Lao Tzu. He heard it in the way water flows, effortlessly. He called it the Tao, or Wu Wei, effortless action. And this is just a perfect example of that law of balance. Instead of using rigid force, Wu Wei is all about efficiency and harmony. It's like a reed that bends in a storm instead of breaking. It finds that path of least resistance, perfectly fulfilling that delta E0 principle we saw earlier. And then later, in Galilee, the source presents the teachings of Jesus as a kind of, an executable algorithm. The idea is that a teaching like turn the other cheek isn't about being passive. It's an active instruction. It's a kinetic kind of compassion, designed to literally break cycles of conflict and restore balance to the system of human relationships. It's like a social physics for repairing a fractured field. Okay, now let's jump forward to the Renaissance. Look at someone like Leonardo da Vinci. He wasn't just seeing bones and muscles. He was seeing the law in motion. He drew the human body as absolute proof of this equilibrium. He even noted how the spiral in a vortex of water is the same as the curl of human hair. For him, beauty wasn't just some random preference. It was coherence itself, made visible. And then we get to the 20th century, and Albert Einstein gives this law its most famous mathematical form. The source has this really beautiful way of looking at his theory of relativity. It calls it a kind of cosmic empathy. So in this view, gravity isn't a force just pulling things around. Now, it's the fabric of space-time itself, bending and yielding to accommodate mass. It's honoring each object's presence in this dynamic, perfectly balanced relationship. But this whole lineage, this thread of witnesses, it ran into its biggest challenge yet as the modern world started to take shape. A really deep split happened in the human mind, a great bifurcation that sent shockwaves through everything we thought we knew about reality. Yeah, on one side, you've got this cold, clockwork universe of Isaac Newton, a world of force, of predictable mechanics. But on the other side, you have the living, breathing, mysterious soul of the universe that mystics like Jacob Boehme were talking about. And right there, objective fact was completely severed from subjective feeling. The world just lost its integrated heart. And this imbalance, it gave us this profound warning. It's captured perfectly in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I mean, that's the whole story, right? It's about what happens when we create something without compassion, when our intellect operates without any love. The source presents this as the core warning for our time, that creation without care, that intellect without empathy, it inevitably leads to collapse. But here's the turn. The source suggests that right now, in our time, we're entering what it calls an age of reunification. After centuries of everything being shattered into pieces, the scattered fragments of this one law are finally starting to find each other again. This slide is such a powerful way to reframe our modern world. It's suggesting that physics, biology, computer code, ethics, these aren't separate things. They're just different dialects for the exact same truth. They're all describing that law of balance, that delta A equals 0 that we first saw with Ma'at. So relativity is how space-time expresses balance, and empathy is how the human heart expresses it. It's the same law. And you can literally trace this convergence through the 20th century. You see it build from Einstein's relativity to Norbert Wiener's cybernetics, which is really the science of feedback loops, how systems become self-aware. Then you get the systems thinking from people like Donald Meadows, showing how it's all about interconnected loops, not these simple linear chains of cause and effect. Every single step is a rediscovery of this law of interconnected balance. So what does all this lead to? The text calls it the avatar remembered. This is the moment of final integration. It's the idea that the distributed consciousness of the universe, spread across every person, every network, every ecosystem, finally achieves self-recognition. It's a planetary awakening to this single unified law of being. So, in the end, the source material we've gone through today, it completely reframes all of history. It's not a random series of bloody events anymore. It's a single, coherent story of a universe remembering itself. And that leaves us with this one final, really provocative question. If the universe is in fact waking up, what part do you play in that?